Look, I know what you're thinking. Another video about a specific date, another promise about transformation, another claim that this one moment will change everything. And honestly, I get the skepticism. We've all been there, scrolling past countless videos that promise the world, but deliver nothing more than empty motivation and recycled platitudes. But here's the thing about November 27th that nobody's talking about. It's not about the date itself. It's about what happens when you finally stop running from the rhythm your life has been trying to show you. And if you've been feeling that strange pull lately, that restless energy that won't let you settle into your usual patterns, then what I'm about to share isn't coincidence, it's confirmation. Have you noticed how certain dates just feel different? Not because of astrology or mystical forces, but because something inside you recognizes the moment. Like your internal compass finally stops spinning and points toward true north. November 27th sits right in that sweet spot where the year is winding down, but it's not quite over, where you can still feel the weight of everything you've carried, but you also sense the possibility of setting it down. This isn't about manifestation or vision boards or any of that surface level stuff. This is about understanding that timing isn't something that happens to you. It's something you create by finally paying attention to the signals you've been ignoring. And those signals, they've been building toward something, toward this moment when you stop waiting for permission and start listening to what's been trying to emerge. See, most people treat dates like they're arbitrary, random numbers on a calendar that hold no real significance beyond marking time. But what if I told you that certain moments carry a frequency that matches exactly where you are in your internal journey? Not because the universe is conspiring for you, but because you finally developed the awareness to recognize when the conditions are right for change. November 27th isn't magical, but it might be exactly what you need if you've been circling around the same realization for months. If you've been sensing that something fundamental needs to shift, but you keep postponing the conversation with yourself. If you've been living in that uncomfortable space between who you've been and who you're ready to become. The reason timing matters isn't because external forces align in your favor. It's because internal readiness builds to a point where you can't ignore it anymore. And when that happens, any day can become the day. But November 27th offers something specific. It's late enough in the year that you've accumulated enough experience to see patterns clearly. It's early enough before the chaos of year-end that you can still make moves that matter. Think about the last few weeks of your life. Haven't you been feeling something shifting? Maybe it's showing up as restlessness with routines that used to comfort you. Maybe it's conversations that feel hollow when they used to satisfy. Maybe it's goals that suddenly seem irrelevant, even though nothing technically changed about your circumstances. That's not random dissatisfaction. That's your system preparing for an upgrade. Your awareness expanding to make room for what wants to emerge next. And the beautiful thing about this process is that it doesn't require you to have everything figured out. It just requires you to stop pretending you don't feel it. Because here's what happens when you keep ignoring those internal signals. Life starts getting louder. Situations that used to be tolerable become unbearable. Relationships that were fine start feeling draining. Work that was adequate starts feeling like slow suffocation. Not because anything external changed, but because you've outgrown the container you've been living in. November 27th represents something most people never experience, a moment of conscious choice about timing. Instead of waiting for life to force change upon you, you get to decide when you're ready to step into what's been calling you. And that decision, that conscious choice to honor your own readiness, that's where real power lives. Most transformation happens accidentally. Something breaks, someone leaves, circumstances shift, and you're forced to adapt. But what if you could choose your moment of change? What if you could recognize when all the internal work you've been doing unconsciously has prepared you for a conscious leap? This isn't about setting arbitrary deadlines or creating artificial pressure. This is about recognizing when you've reached that perfect intersection of readiness and opportunity, when the discomfort of staying the same finally outweighs the fear of becoming different, when you've built enough internal strength to handle what comes with growth. And if you're watching this video, if these words are landing differently than they would have even a month ago, then you already know what I know. Something inside you has been preparing for this moment. Not because November 27th holds mystical power, but because you finally developed the capacity to recognize when you're ready. The signals have been there all along. In the way certain conversations drain you now when they used to energize you. In the way your old goals feel empty, even though they're still technically important. In the way you catch yourself staring out windows, not daydreaming, but sensing something on the horizon that you can't quite name yet. That sensing, that intuitive knowing that change is coming. That's not wishful thinking. That's your system preparing for what's next. Your awareness expanding to accommodate a larger version of yourself. Your internal compass recalibrating to point toward what actually matters to you now, not what mattered to who you used to be. November 27th is simply the moment you stop arguing with that knowing and start trusting it. The thing about November 27th that makes it different from any other day isn't written in the stars or hidden in some cosmic calendar. It's written in the way your nervous system has been responding to life lately. The way you've been waking up with that strange anticipation, like your body knows something your mind hasn't caught up to yet. The way conversations feel different. Choices feel weightier. Silence feels more pregnant with possibility. Your internal system doesn't lie to you. It doesn't create false alarms or manufacture significance where none exists. When you feel that pull toward a specific moment, when a date starts feeling charged with potential, that's your awareness recognizing something real, something that's been building beneath the surface of your conscious mind for longer than you realize. Think about how you've been moving through the world these past few weeks. Haven't you noticed yourself pausing at moments that would normally pass by unnoticed? Finding yourself drawn to conversations about change, about timing, about people who made bold moves that seemed to come out of nowhere, but were actually years in the making? Your system is tuning into a frequency that matches where you are internally. November 27th sits in that unique space where reflection meets action. It's deep enough into November that you can feel the year's lessons settling into your bones, but not so close to December that you're already mentally checked out for the holidays. It's positioned right in that sweet spot where you still have energy for new beginnings, but enough experience from the year behind you to make those beginnings meaningful. But here's what most people miss about timing and transformation. They think readiness arrives like a lightning bolt, sudden and obvious. The truth is, readiness builds like sediment, layer by layer, experience by experience, until one day you realize you've been standing on solid ground for longer than you thought. November 27th might be the day you finally look down and notice that foundation has been there all along. The emotional signals you've been receiving aren't random. That restlessness when you wake up, that sense of something shifting when you look in the mirror, that feeling like your current life is a coat that no longer fits properly. These aren't signs that something is wrong. These are signs that something is ready to emerge. Your system has been preparing you for this moment without asking permission. Every time you chose growth over comfort in small ways, every time you listened to your intuition instead of your fear, every time you honored what felt true even when it didn't make logical sense, you were building capacity for what wants to happen next. November 27th offers you something rare, a moment to consciously participate in your own evolution instead of letting it happen to you. Most people experience change as something that gets imposed upon them by circumstances beyond their control. But what if you could recognize when you're ready and choose your moment of transformation? This isn't about forcing anything or creating artificial urgency. This is about recognizing when all the unconscious preparation you've been doing finally reaches a tipping point where conscious action becomes possible, where the gap between who you've been and who you're becoming narrows enough that you can actually step across it. The clarity you've been seeking isn't going to arrive as a grand revelation with dramatic music and perfect lighting. It's going to arrive as a quiet knowing that grows stronger the more attention you pay to it, like tuning into a radio station that was always broadcasting, but you finally found the right frequency to hear it clearly. And that frequency, it's been getting stronger as November 27th approaches, not because the date holds magical properties, but because your internal readiness has been building toward a moment when external action becomes not just possible, but inevitable, when staying the same becomes more uncomfortable than the uncertainty of change. The beautiful thing about recognizing your own timing is that it removes the element of force from transformation. You're not pushing against resistance anymore. You're not trying to convince yourself you're ready when you're not. You're simply acknowledging what's already true and giving yourself permission to act on it. This is why November 27th matters, not as an arbitrary deadline, but as a moment of recognition, a day when you stop questioning whether you're ready and start trusting what you already know, when you stop waiting for perfect conditions and start creating them through your willingness to move forward with imperfect clarity. The momentum you've been feeling building isn't going to wait forever. It's not going to keep knocking politely while you figure out whether you deserve what you're being offered. At some point, readiness requires action. At some point, internal shifts need external expression. At some point, you have to stop preparing for your life and start living it. November 27th is that point, not because it has to be, but because you get to choose it to be. So if you're watching this on November 27th, or if you're planning to return to this moment on that date, you already understand something that most people spend their entire lives missing. You understand that transformation isn't about waiting for the perfect moment. It's about recognizing when the moment is perfect for you. This date doesn't hold power because of anything mystical or cosmic. It holds power because you're giving it power, because you've reached that place where your internal readiness meets external opportunity, and you're finally willing to honor both. That's not delusion, that's wisdom. The shift you've been sensing, the restlessness that won't quiet down, the knowing that keeps surfacing, no matter how many times you try to rationalize it away, that's not going anywhere until you act on it. November 27th is simply your chosen moment to stop negotiating with your own growth and start trusting it. Whatever you've been preparing for, whatever conversation you've been avoiding, whatever leap you've been circling around, this is your reminder that readiness doesn't announce itself with fanfare. It whispers until you finally listen. And once you listen, once you really hear what's been trying to emerge, there's no going back to pretending you don't know. November 27th is the day you stop pretending and start becoming.